For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who want it until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious.
The violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Greetings, fellow thought criminals, and thank you for joining the insurrection. I'm Michael Lauber, and today I'm joined by Jack Montgomery and Noah Herod. Gentlemen, how are you doing this morning?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Oh, just another day in paradise over here. Before we get started, if you could give our audience kind of a quick rundown on who you are, what brought you here today. Jack, we'll start with you, and then Noah will go to you.
Well, I'm an advocate to actually help the veterans in our country get what they deserve. I was a Force Recon 0331 E7 Gunner Sergeant for 8 years, and just stuff beyond that, and lost actually all my men.
Oh, geez.
I built businesses to take care of my core brothers, kids, and families, and that's what I do. I want to see everything better than us.
What?
I
That's
collect
good.
nothing. I collect nothing from the VA at all. I do not use them because I'd like to say some other words, but I'm not. So
it's broken is what it is.
It's completely
broken.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it does a disservice to a lot of veterans rather than helping them. I mean, even outside of what you're talking about, like even just basic care, a lot of guys that I've known or worked with over the years in different industries. I worked for a custom woodworking place while I was in college, and almost everybody that worked there was a veteran except for myself and one other person. And some of them were back to, like Vietnam. And most of them would avoid the VA at all costs unless they absolutely had to. Several of them were paying for private insurance, or they would go through their wives' insurance if they needed something. They would only visit the VA if they absolutely had to, just because the quality of care was so bad. And then here in the Dayton area where I live, they actually had a big problem with the dental services even through there. They had several people contract HIV because they weren't cleaning the tools properly, sanitizing things. And I mean, it's just an absolute nightmare. And this should be a higher priority, considering the billions and billions, if not trillions of dollars we've spent on illegal aliens over the last several years. And then our veterans are still lacking care. People that gave everything they could. We forget about them, and then we prop up.
They were up in Washington sleeping on the street.
Yeah.
Well, the illegals had hotel rooms.
Yep.
Right? That's what we fought for? No. We
upside
fought for all of our families, not for the corruption that is part of.
Yeah, I think that's a big problem we're running into. I mean, Mike, just to piggyback off what you said, we got in the biggest cities in our country, we have Vietnam War vets, Iraq War vets, all homeless. And meanwhile, we have tens of billions of dollars to fund fraud. Look what Nick Shirley exposed in Minnesota. We would only need $8 billion to help the homeless veteran problem in the country. And meanwhile, $175 billion out of, and I'm sure it's going up out of California, Nick Shirley exposed. So we just got to figure out why they are wasting our money. Yes, it's fraud. Yes, it's corruption. But why keep our veterans down?
Oh, exactly. Like, it's upside down and backwards. It's unacceptable. It's completely disgusting. But there doesn't seem to be will within Congress to fix a lot of these things. The Trump administration's tried. They've made some inroads. They've made some positive changes, but things still are not where they need to be. And that's kind of the main thing that we're going to kind of discuss today and break down, because you've got a charity that you run to help with equine therapy for some of these wounded warriors that are returning home. But the bottom line is, like, not enough is being done. I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
It's a Hooks for Heroes 501c3, and it's more than just equine therapy for them. It's open up to help them, help their children, help their wives, and actually be there instead of just like a 2-week vacation at some Disneyland or whatever, right? And then they just leave us after that. We need to have just people we can contact. We need to have, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter if it's 3 a.m. or 5 a.m. or whatever.
Yeah, they need a real.
I've lost 6 guys in the last 8 months.
Good Lord.
Yep.
All right, I lost one 2 days ago.
Yep. And here's the thing too, Mike. If we had these programs set in place, if they had somebody to talk to right away, they weren't waiting at 6 hours in a VA waiting room. I mean, we could take care of a lot of these problems. And I say, we get a like, for instance, Doge, that Elon was running with Trump when he first started finding all the fraud, and then next year we piggyback off that. We should use a percentage of that to put back into our veterans. Our veterans should come first and foremost, because those are the ones that died and gave their lives for our country.
Yeah. I mean, every single one of these. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say our government's afraid of us.
Well, yeah. I mean, they're more the problem than they are the solution. Every one of these programs that we ran for 4 years under Biden to fly in illegal aliens or support them, give them $6,000 a month to live on, put them up in luxury hotels, provide their meals, provide childcare, provide clothing, provide for all their needs. I mean, look at how much money we spent on them in such a short amount of time for invaders, people that don't even belong here. They have no attachment to our country. And we're forgetting about the people that voluntarily put their lives on the line to protect us, protect our freedom. And it's disgusting. Something's got to really change here, and permanently. We need to end these programs, end this fraud, and we need to reassess the kind of care that we're providing for our veterans. Again, especially people that made these massive sacrifices, losing limbs, that are dealing with PTSD, that this should be our nation's priority, not importing third worlders that are destroying our country right now. I mean, look what's going on in Texas, in California, in Minnesota. I mean, more and more just keeps coming out. And here in Ohio now, we just added another $1 billion to our fraud total, and it's almost 100% from the Somali community, if you want to call them that. I mean, every last one of them should be deported. We need to claw back all that cash. And anybody, whether it's elected or an appointed government official that turned a blind eye, looked the other way, or actively participated in this fraud, every one of them needs jail time. And we have to reprioritize things here. We need a real awakening here in America, and we need to get our priorities straight.
Well, look how much we spend on prisoners.
Yeah.
The average inmate costs $26,000 a year to house.
And they get to go in there and get caught and do this, do that, whatever. Right? When we dig cooches in the desert, carrying 130 pounds of gear.
Yep.
With no showers, no nothing. Eating MREs that are just terrible.
Yeah.
Chewing X-Lax gum because we've.
Yeah, and by the way, the only time you see the military eating steak and lobster is right before we go to war. So
the president. No, we'll go there.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
No, go there. Yeah, we need to get this all out there.
Guys, he would.
Yeah.
Not believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say something, but I won't. But yeah, again, it's backwards. We should be treating these people like the heroes they are instead of just forgetting about them.
Treated like heroes. We didn't do it for that. I do.
Well,
You know
well,
what I mean?
well, yeah, I do know what you mean. I know that's the attitude most people take. Most of my friends that are veterans and others, they don't feel like heroes, but at the end of the day, you are. You voluntarily put your life on the line because at the end of the day, when you sign that form, you are saying, yes, I could be killed in combat fighting for my country. So you're taking a bigger step than most people are to do anything. I sit here and yell at the internet all day. That's nothing. I'm not dodging bullets or going.
Hey, what age were
It,
you when you went?
what was that?
What age were you when you went in?
Mike didn't serve.
No,
Oh,
yeah, I was not in. No,
Yeah.
okay.
no.
I
What
went
I'm
in.
saying,
I
so
went in 44.
24. Yeah, a lot of my friends joined at 19, 18, 19 years old, either right out of high school. I graduated in 2001, so right after our high school graduation, a few months later was 9/11. Some of my other friends joined right when they got out of college. A couple of them did 20 years in service. Other ones tried to, but then had to leave because of COVID. They didn't want to get the clot shot, so they ended up having to
Oh, yeah.
resign before they wanted to. Um, but same thing. Again, these are people that have given all, but are underserved, and that's again a big part of the problem. There's obviously nothing that can be done to completely bring a lot of people back to the state they were in before they joined. There's people that lose limbs. There's all the psychological damage that's been done, and we've talked about some of it on this show before.
And I
With
got titanium. I got titanium knees, ankles, one femur, and hips from an IV.
Yeah, I mean, it's terrible.
I got shot many times.
How many Purple Hearts did you get?
Altogether, I got 6.
Wow. I mean, that's incredible. See, most people can't even imagine.
I'm sitting here in disbelief because that's such a hard act to follow, but wow. It makes you appreciate veterans more. We see what they're going through. I mean, these are people getting shot at and blown up to come back to a country where they're not taken care of, where they can't have a good bed to sleep in, where they can't have a hot meal. And a lot of people are tired of it. Meanwhile, Brandon Johnson busts in millions of illegal immigrants into the city of Chicago. 5-star hotel, car allowance, food allowance, Medicaid, completely taken care of. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, at the same time, he's doing that. He's pushing Americans out into the streets. Terry Newsom, hat tip to him. He's over on right here on X America News. You can find his program at 8 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday and Thursday. But he's done a lot of work on the ground covering this and talking to Americans that were thrown out of the shelters in the middle of winter, being forced to sleep under an overpass so that the illegal aliens they bust into Chicago could stay in the hotels and stay in the gymnasiums and stay where it was warm. And we have tens of thousands of veterans on the street. And I get that you're never going to get everybody into a program or into something where they can get back into a home, get their life back on them. There's going to be some people that just don't want anything to do with that choose. Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt you. It's it's like the suicide rate of what's happening, how it's just jumped. All right.
22 veterans a day.
Do you know that those guys are not killing themselves because they feel sorry for themselves? We were created to take out the threat, right?
Yeah.
When they're giving us the drugs and all that stuff that completely blank you out, you're still there.
Yeah.
And then when you become the threat, you take yourself out.
Yeah. Well, it's also
you can't come back and just come back into a normal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
World. You can't talk to a therapist or a, psychologist if they were never there.
Sure.
How would they know? I mean, all the degrees in college does not mean anything compared to what we saw.
Oh, yeah. I mean, some of the, especially emotional, psychological damage, there's never going to be a fix for it. Sometimes it is going to haunt you, but we can help people deal with it better. Some of it, too, is people when they get back, they feel like they don't have a purpose anymore. That while they were in the military, they had a mission, they had something they were focused on. And once they get back here, they have trouble adapting back to normal life or having a job that doesn't feel like it means anything. You know, you're working at Walmart scanning somebody's.
A lot of guys should not be there.
Yeah.
It should be a different vending program. You know what I mean? There's people that should be there, and then there were people that thought they were going to get a GI Bill and go to college and everything else. That's not what you want to join.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're exactly right. Well, I think even the issue though with with people feeling like they have a purpose, that this is something that can be solved by, you know, having a conversation, having help there to reintegrate back into civilian society, where you know, getting back into that frame of mind, back to that mode. Because there was another gentleman I know, good friend of mine, same thing. I've known him since grade school, that he had the same issue. Like once he got out, it was like he just couldn't connect back to normal. He was fine if he was with his friends, if we were out doing something or whatever, but he couldn't find any meaning in work. And I think eventually he did go in and talk to counselors, other people, and they were able to kind of get him back situated and gradually reintegrate into society. But again, these are simple problems that should be addressed as people are exiting from their military service, that would avoid a lot of this, avoid the depression. Again, like you guys, we were talking about off air before, you know, getting them into those like friend groups, people that are in the area with veterans and other people that will help them deal with the burden that they bring with them off the battlefield.
And that's a forever deal.
Yeah.
Yep. And, you know, we're not going to fix the veteran problem overnight. However, there's steps we can take, like taking the money that's used for fraud to fund veterans, you know, for a counselor's appointment, for, you know, group therapy. You know, we can get creative with it. These are our heroes. We can take them all out to a football game, a baseball game. They want that camaraderie. I mean, you know, even my big brother, while he was overseas, you know, first thing when he got home, he was like, I miss just being around people.
Yeah.
And PTSD for some people is freaking out, going off the wall. For others, it's sitting, looking at the wall with a blank stare. And there's different ways to help them, but we have to start with one step first. We can't just keep talking about these issues. We have to make something happen with these issues.
And
Yeah.
we can actually do it tomorrow.
Yep.
You know what I mean? If they
Yeah.
wanted to do it.
Well, that's the bottom line right there. It's if they wanted to, because as you
And
said,
that
there are
goes for
solutions.
both sides. Yeah.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I said that goes for both sides.
Yeah. Well, and well, you're exactly right. And this should be a higher priority, but now maybe there's not 100% of the problems, maybe there's not a way to deal with, but most of what's coming back, we know what works. We could be doing a better job right now. We are choosing not to. That for whatever reason for Congress, the priority is never the veterans. That seems to just fall off over and over again. Instead, it's, well, right now, illegal aliens and Somali fraudsters, or lazy Americans that are ripping off the system and there's no accountability for.
Mike, I call them the Dick Cheney warhawks in Congress. You know, they're so happy to send somebody to war and start a war, but they've never served and they never planned on serving. So,
yeah, the Lindsey Graham amnesties and others. That again, their priorities are out of whack. They don't care about the soldiers. They don't care about the wounded warriors, anybody else. What they care about are their assets in Raytheon, their handlers over at Lockheed Martin or General Dynamics or whoever else. They want to feed the war machine. They really do want endless war. And this is where I think the big split with the Republican Party is right now, because you do have those old school neocons like Lady Graham or others that are in Congress right now. And then you have this new movement that's moving up that's more like Trump, that wants to primarily end wars, despite what's going on in Iran right now. It's mostly been about bringing our troops home, getting them the care they need. But it takes more than just a president to do that. We need Congress to get behind it and make changes. We need to really go through the VA level by level, give them the funding they needed, make sure the right people are there administrating the programs, and make that a much higher priority. You know, I saw this terrible graph. That's what I was looking for on my phone a minute ago, that showed just in New York City how much was spent on illegal aliens and others compared to veterans, and it was like it was around 1/50th of the money was spent on veterans as opposed to illegal aliens in the city of New York right now. I think it was just under 1/50th. But regardless, like, where are our priorities? Why is it so important for us to just shower these invaders with gifts and with our money when we know that we're getting ripped off to the tunes of billions, if not trillions of dollars every year, and our veterans we just forget about?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's one more thing I wanted to touch on, Mike, and it has a lot to do with our veterans, and it's the stolen valor problem. I remember I was watching the video in Portland, Oregon, where Serena, the right side rebel, she was there in Portland, Oregon, and a member of Antifa claimed to be a Navy SEAL. He never served in the military one day in his life. Didn't serve ever. And there's a stolen valor is a problem. One, people use it to intimidate people, saying like, "Oh, I did this in the military," and two, they use it to get a free meal, to get a free Arby's on Veterans Day, and it's terrible because it takes the food out of the mouths of the people that actually served.
Yeah,
And we get a freaking day.
you don't even get a month like the gays.
To say, but
Yeah.
right, all the way through June, those people get an entire month.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, Groomer Awareness Month. It's pathetic that we give the gays an entire month. Veterans get a day. Well, I guess 2 days. You get Memorial Day too, but still,
Yeah.
again, it just shows our priority.
Yeah, it's.
Our founding fathers would be rolling in their grave
I
right now.
didn't do this to take any like thank you for your service or anything like that. I did it for everybody's families, like my guys.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And I don't do it for any recognition. I'm nobody. I'm just somebody that had to do what they had to do. Right? And I believe in our country. I believe in our Constitution. And I took that oath and I meant it from my heart.
Yep.
All the way through.
And our country's in a dark place right now, and it's a very divided place. And nobody. Let's be honest. We have the most powerful military force in the world. Nobody's gonna do a Normandy invasion into Virginia or Tennessee or conquer us. However, if they can split us up from the inside, it's a desecration of a nation, and we've been seeing that a lot. We are. I don't think America has ever been this divided, even during the Civil War.
I mean, look at all the China. We'll go. You know what? I won't say much more than everywhere. All the most.
Yeah, there's an Islamic invasion going on right now. We already see what that looks like 5 years down the line. If we just look over to Europe right now, where they're expecting riots in the streets tonight because Reform and Restore won these local elections yesterday. It was just a complete beatdown of the of Labor and the Greens. I saw last count I saw Reform was at 1,400 seats they'd picked up, and Restore won every race they entered. All 10 races they won. And where there's.
By the way, there should look at Ilhan Omar. There shouldn't be one Muslim as a sitting member of Congress. I mean, this lady married her brother to just get citizenship. These people, at the end of the day, have been chanting "Death to America" since the first day they were born. They hate us. They want to kill us. Why would we let the infidel have a sitting seat?
Well, it was actually illegal for Muslims to serve in Congress or any elected government role until the late 70s or early 80s. They undid the law for that. I don't know why, but that was a big mistake because it should be blatantly obvious to everybody now that what they believe.
This country.
Yep.
To hold office.
What they believe is out of sync with Western values. And again, this should be self-evident. Look to any country in the Middle East, what goes on there. They are here to infiltrate and overtake. They are not here to assimilate and become part of America. We've talked about this on this program numerous times with people like Annie and others that immigrated here legally. They wanted to leave where they came from behind. Doesn't mean you totally abandon who you are. I mean, I'm all for going out and, learning stories about wherever somebody came from or traditions or whatever. But at the end of the day, you're here to become an American. You need to be speaking English. Again, We can learn from your traditions, especially with the reasons of why you left wherever you came from. And I could go over stories here from my extended family and other people I know that every one of them abandoned their homeland and chose to come here to be an American because they was a problem with where they're at. They wanted opportunity. They wanted freedom.
They did not fly another flag
Yep.
of another country, because if you want to live in that country,
Yeah.
stay there.
Then go
Yep.
make Somalia great again. Get the hell out of
Yeah.
here. We don't need you. We don't need your leering center. Get the hell out of here. If you're not going to if you're not going to assimilate and bring value to America, I mean, this is the other thing I think a lot of the left is forgetting, is we need to have screening for immigration. This is not a right for foreign nationals to live in the United States. We should only be bringing people that bring value, that add something to our society.
Well, the left is all about division.
Yeah, and look at it this way. When you're talking about the left, these are the same people who say we need to support Palestine and free Palestine, quote unquote. Meanwhile, they represent the LGBTQ, whatever XYZ community, whatever those transformers are. And if they went to the Palestine, if they went to the Middle East, they get thrown off a cliff for being gay, for being transgender. That's like chicken supporting Kentucky Fried Chicken. It makes no sense, but that's how delusional these people are.
Yeah, they just gave one of their little activists free flying lessons over in Palestine, threw some gay dude off the roof of a building. And again, it's unfortunate that happens, that these people are blind to the world and the reality that we live in. They're not mentally sound. None of their policy makes sense. They keep crying about foreign interference in our elections, but they refuse to implement voter ID or go through the voter rolls to take all the foreign nationals off the voter rolls here. I mean, everything they say is upside down, backwards, and doesn't make any sense. You can't have a country without a common language, borders, and culture. We have all these different groups right now that do not assimilate, because it isn't just the Muslims. Like, that's the obvious one. That's the one that we see down in Texas and up in Dearborn and up in Little Mogadishu in Minnesota and elsewhere. But it's the 20,000 Haitians that are 20 miles from me right now up in Springfield, destroying that area where they eat the cats and dogs.
And Mike was one of the first ones covered. Mike was over there. They are literally eating people's pets.
Oh yeah,
these are savages.
No, these guys, they'll eat people's horses, cut pieces off.
And last thing I wanted to touch on, because you were in the Middle East, you see how Muslims are, you see how they act. They hate us, and the first chance they get, they'll try to destroy us if they can infiltrate enough.
And I mean,
that's their whole religion.
No, we are the
infidels.
We're the infidels.
And we can never be them.
Yeah.
They are who they are. That is their civilization. You know what I mean? That's who they are. You're not going to be.
No.
It's not like here in America where you have so many different groups.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you are Chinese, you're Chinese. If you're, Korean, you're Korean. If you're over in, you know what I mean? So you're in Iran. Yeah, all that. That's who they are.
Yep.
Well, yeah, and this gets us to the core.
Assimilate and start going, hey, I'm gonna,
I'll never assimilate.
I'm gonna rip you. No, you're not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, there's a big difference from what went on here more traditionally when we were a melting pot 20, 30 years ago, where people came here to be Americans. Now we have all these little enclaves of various foreign nationals embedded within our countries, within our cities, and they are not here to be part of our society. They are here to infiltrate. Most of them are sending money back home. This is a way to enrich themselves. And I get it. Some of them are just economic migrants that want a better opportunity for themselves and their family.
And we all want, you know what I mean?
Yep.
They want to come here for the freedoms that they want, but with what they're doing, they're destroying it.
Yes.
And they have no idea they are.
I tell
all the division's going to just it will be a collapse of.
Yep. I tell people this too. Like, okay, these leftists think that some utopia exists. It doesn't. America is perfectly imperfect. Yep. You're never going to get something perfect, but if you try to make something perfect, it's going to collapse. It's going to fall. They want it's completely ridiculous. And 30, 40, 50 years ago, America was 10 times better. We're still the greatest country on earth. But this is what happens when you have the degradation of a nation. It slowly gets worse and worse and worse. And these leftists aren't going to stop at anything. I mean, these people are lunatics.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a big problem. I think it really is rooted in our education system. The fact that that's been just totally taken over at this point by people that aren't there to serve your children and serve future generations. They're not there to educate. They're there to indoctrinate. It's a bunch of blue-haired moonbat, wine moms that want to indoctrinate your kids until the LGBT MS-13 agenda, the environmentalism agenda, this globalist agenda. They want to teach them to hate America. They don't want to teach the history. They want to teach the 1619 Project. They don't want to tell you about all the amazing things that we've accomplished as a nation, how we went from a colony of the British Crown to the most powerful nation on earth in under 200 years. That's quite an accomplishment. And it isn't that we got there by exploiting people around the world and all the other nonsense like the left believes. Now, it isn't to say there weren't some mistakes and there aren't some problems that we can learn from, but that's happened. We fought a civil war over the biggest one, and